Okay, so American Horror Story, episode 7 and 8, series 1. So, episode 7, not much to say about episode 7 really. It's when I saw the Next Time trailer, it looked really awesome because it's, well, the next, when, in the trailer, the story just, it's basically told the basic story of of episode 7. And it just looked like a really cool episode, and it was. It was a great episode, probably one of my favourites. I really liked episode 7. I'm pretty sure that's partially because Larry was in there a lot, because Larry's my favourite character, and Constance was in there quite a lot as well. So it was cool to see them in the episode. It seemed to focus on them like a lot more than, well, any of the other characters. So it was great that they focused on them. So obviously it held my attention for that. The opening scene with, not the opening scene, but after the title sequence, I like that scene, the one with Larry where he's confronted by Marcy with a gun. That was cool, that was a kind of funny scene. And of course, because Constance and Larry are basically the best characters in the show, in my opinion. But this is the first time I ever seen the characters interact with each other. That's if my memory serves. I'm not 100% sure now, but I think it's the first time we've ever seen Larry and Constance interact. But it was fun as hell to see them, well, interact. And watching Moira, Larry and Constance all team up to kill the guy. Spoilers. But watching Moira, Larry and Constance team up to kill the guy at the end, that was fun. And the backstory behind Larry, so they revealed a bit more about Larry. So it turns out he didn't kill his kids, which he previously lied about in the first episode. I think it was the first episode, but yeah. So his backstory is really interesting as well. Turns out he loves Constance, and I felt really bad for Larry because, well, his backstory is just kind of tragic, Like his wife killed herself and the kids, which left Larry with a burnt face. And of course, even when he's in the basement and he's kind of confessing his love to Constance, she kind of shuns him away, and she just she's just like, oh, you're hideous, when she looks at his face and stuff like that. So I kind of felt bad for him, because even when he's kind of pouring his heart and soul out to Constance, she's kind of just like, you're hideous, and she's just really smug and looks down on him. But yeah, it was a great episode. What happened was great, and it was fun to see Larry and Constance together in the scenes. And also like another thing which is kind of lovable about Larry, even though he kind of he's going, oh, I love you and stuff to Constance, and she's saying stuff like, you're disgusting, I bet all the kids run when you walk down the street, and she's saying stuff like that. Even when she's saying stuff like that, Larry kind of just, a massive smile just goes across his face when she's saying stuff like that. I haven't seen the episode for a while, but if I remember right, Larry was like forming a bunch of smiles as she was kind of just insulting him. But he was kind of smiling doing that. So that's like one of the lovable things about Larry. It's just like he doesn't give a fuck. Like when he killed a pregnant woman, he just doesn't care. He'll do it well, he just doesn't care. But yeah, it's great episode. Fun to see Larry and Constance a lot. Anything else? Nah, that's really all I have to say about episode 7. Not much. I have quite a bit to say about episode 8 though. Here's a little story though. So here in the UK, because of course we just watched, well, it's Friday today, but they show American Horror Story on Mondays. So after episode 7, Open House, which is the one I just reviewed, I was eagerly anticipating the next episode because they were focusing on the Rubber Man, who I'll get to that later. But so I was working. I have a part-time job in McDonald's, which you probably didn't know. But so I was working on Monday, and I just couldn't wait to get home and watch episode 8. So I didn't run home, but when I got home and turned on the TV, because I got home past 11, I was working till 11 o'clock, and when I got home and I turned on the TV, because I recorded it, and I looked through the recording list, and I watched the episode. I started watching it, then all of a sudden it just started showing. It was the first episode, is what they were showing. So I was kind of confused, wondering, what was going on here. because it was the first episode, not the 8th episode. So I ended up looking through the TV guide and stuff like that, through the listings, and it turned out for some reason the FX channel decided to delay the 8th episode by a week. So there's episode 7, then no new episode on the next Monday, and then on the Monday after that they had episode 8. So for some reason they delayed it by a week, and throughout the whole entire week they showed every single episode in the series, well 1 to 7, and then they showed episode 8 on the Monday. I don't know why they did that. That kind of pissed me off because I was looking forward to episode 8, but whatever. On the bright side, I got to watch all of the episodes again because they showed one episode on every day. So Monday episode 1, Tuesday episode 2, and so on for the rest of the week. And then I got to watch episode 8 on the other Monday, of course. So I was kind of pissed off that the FX channel decided to delay it for a week without warning for no reason at all. But whatever. So when I finally got round to watching episode 8, okay, I'm gonna forget that sentence. So episode 8 kind of focuses on the Rubberman and reveals the origins behind him and stuff like that. And so they reveal who he is basically. And I know I mentioned this in one of my previous reviews of some other episode. I can't remember which one. But I already had this spoiled for me back when I was watching episode 5 or 4, I think, or maybe 6. Because Bloody Disgusting, a horror website that reports on like trailers or posters being released on upcoming horror films. They also do reviews and news on American Horror Story. But basically at the time America was on episode 8, so they already knew who Rubberman was. So the asshole who wrote the article on American Horror Story episode 8 on the bloodydisgusting.com website, he posted the picture which revealed the identity of the Rubberman. So you could see who was the Rubberman in the suit without the mask, so you can see the face, like on the front page as well. So there's no way you could avoid it if you visit the website regularly. I was pretty pissed off at that. So it was no surprise when I found out who it was when he stands in the bathroom and there's that dramatic moment where he takes off the mask. So I knew it was coming, so I was kind of pissed off at that. But I was surprised that they revealed who the Rubberman was before the opening titles ever came up. Like even before the introduction, even before the opening title sequence, they just show you who the Rubberman is, like straight away. So I thought that was, I liked that. I thought that was good that they just revealed it straight away. That because obviously this gave them time to develop the motives and backstory behind the character. So it gave us the opportunity to explore the character's motives and backstory within the same episode. So that was cool. So yeah, got like a note down here. Okay, so this is one thing which I liked, but the way they did it I didn't too like. So basically in this episode they reveal, not entirely, but, well, kind of entirely, but they reveal the mechanics of the ghosts, let's say. It basically, because Hayden, yeah, I'll get to that later as well, I have something to say about her, but basically, so Hayden just explains, there's a lot of exposition where she explains how all of the ghosts work. The fact that they have the power to disappear, reappear, and well, you know, just stuff like that. She basically explains what powers the ghosts have. And so yeah, that was good. I like that they explained that, and like, so it's episode 8, so they revealed that now. So it's cool that they're not leaving things until episode 13, the final episode, to reveal. I like that, and I'm satisfied with the explanation on the ghosts that they gave us. But the thing I didn't like was why she started saying it, because she, I can't remember, I don't know what the ghost's name is, but she's speaking to the woman who doesn't realise she's dead, and she points out the gunshot wound on the head. So she's talking to her, and then she just starts explaining, you're dead, and then she starts explaining the powers that she has. I don't know, like, it didn't bug me a lot, but I just felt as if it was kind of unnatural how Hayden just started explaining everything. It just felt unnatural and awkward. And yeah, unnatural and awkward. They are the words I would say. Just Hayden sitting there explaining, just talking to the girl and explaining that she's dead and stuff. I just felt awkward watching it. I just felt the way that Hayden just started explaining everything. Just felt a bit awkward. I understand that they had to do it somehow and explain to us, the audience, you know, how the ghosts work, but the way they did it, the reason why Hayden just started ranting off about it, it just felt awkward to me, and it kind of came off as forced. But it you know, it doesn't bug me. I'm fine with that. It's not a major complaint or a complaint at all. It's just something I kind of picked up on. I just, in my opinion, it felt a bit awkward, but I'm not complaining much. Well, it's not a big deal to me. I don't mind. Just pointing something out. It's a review. I got to talk about something. And next point. Yeah. So back to Hayden. So, of course, she was killed in episode 3 or episode 4. No, episode 3. Yeah. And then she comes back in episode 4 and 5 to haunt Ben as a ghost. And at the end of episode 5, she's taken away in a police car over to the police station. And of course the ghosts can't leave the house. However, on Halloween they can. So she could leave the house in the police car. And then, so she's taken away in the police car, and when the sun comes up for the next day after Halloween, so all of the ghosts have to be in the house by then. She's in the back of the police car, but then she kind of disappears at the police when the guy arrives at the police station and the sun comes up. So throughout episodes 6 and 7, we don't ever see Hayden ever again. So I was kind of assuming that if the ghosts are caught outside the house or try to leave the house or are outside the house when it's not Halloween, I was assuming if they were caught out by something like that, they would, I don't know, maybe they would go to hell or something. Like something bad would happen to them, basically. Like a ghost would die. That doesn't make sense, but like, you kind of get the picture, I think. So I was kind of assuming that maybe she went to hell or something, and she's kind of disappeared, dissolved or something by the sunlight, something like that. But then she obviously she turns up in this episode. So I guess the ghosts, if they are caught outside the house or try to leave the house, they just get sent back to the house, like teleported back to the house, I guess. Maybe. I guess that's what it seems like to me. Of course, they'll probably explain that later on in another episode. That's not a complaint. This doesn't make the episode bad by any means. It doesn't even make it like, it doesn't detract from the episode. But it's just cool to see Larry and Constance. But of course, Larry and Constance were not in this episode at all. So that's kind of disappointing, but not in a really bad way. Because I really like Larry and Constance, so it was a shame not to see any action from them, but whatever. So next thing, I like the backstory behind the gay guys as well. So in episode 4, they showed you one of the murders of the house, which is the 2 gay guys. The guy got drowned and got his neck snapped by the rubber man. And that scene kind of ended with his husband walking in and then and looking at the rubber man, and then that was the introduction. Then the scene ended. So in this episode we see the other half of the scene. Because I was expecting something big, as if the guy shakes hands with the rubber man and it turns out that is a hitman. I don't know, like I was expecting something a bit more elaborate. Maybe he was in cahoots with the rubber man and they would just shake hands straight after or something. But it turns out no. The rubber man just kills the other guy as well. I was expecting something more than that, a bit complicated. But it turns out, because I was wondering why didn't they show the other half of the scene back then? But instead the rubber man just kills the other guy. So I thought that was kind of weird that they only showed the other half of that episode now. Not a big deal. Yeah, so back to the gay guys. Those characters are awesome. I thought they were great in episode 4 and 5, and now they've come back for episode 8. And we found out about their backstory. I liked their backstory. It was really depressing as well. And when the guy goes to the S&M shop, I thought that was pretty funny. You know, the way he's just like, I don't like pain. When he goes to the shop owner, stuff like that. I like that sort of stuff. It's pretty funny. And also depressing as well, because he's clearly trying his hardest to get back with his husband and try and relight their relationship, to try and mend it, and then he only ends up just fucking her up even worse than before. So I thought it was really depressing watching him try so hard, but it just ends up making the situation worse. And the way his husband just shuns him away all the time, I thought that was kind of depressing. And of course, they're killed by Rubberman like straight after as well. So not only did he make his relationship worse, and they were having really crappy lives, and they were in debt, they also just got killed by Rubberman straight away. So I thought their backstory was pretty depressing. Everyone has a depressing backstory. I mean, you have Constance. All three of her kids have been killed. No, 2 kids. Tatum and the girl in the boy in the attic. Yeah, okay, 2 kids. Well, maybe she has more. I don't know yet. But from what I've seen, she only has 2 kids. And, like, every single character has a tragic backstory, pretty much. I mean, of course, you have Constance. Her kids were killed by one way or another. Larry, his kids were killed, and her wife committed suicide. His wife committed suicide. But yeah, it's kind of depressing show when you think about it. All the characters. Yeah, the characters are handled well. I think I mentioned this before in another review, but characters are really handled well. They develop them all well. Everyone's getting equal screen time. So I'm really liking that about the show. They're giving all the characters equal screen time and developing them very well, I think, in my opinion. So yeah, I like that. I think I'm getting to the end. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So throughout the episode, I was kind of wondering, because some TV shows do this where they kind of leave some questions open, and then it's as if the writer kind of forgets about the question and doesn't bother in answering it, and then it just gets left open and no one ever finds out the answer. Like, I'm pretty suspicious that Doctor Who has done something like that. Or at least it's kind of like something in which the audience questions want an answer to, but the writer doesn't really think that it's much of a big deal, or maybe the writer just doesn't even think that that's really a question. They're kind of thinking, oh, just forget about it, it's not important, I guess. Because that's what I think is what's happened in like Doctor Who, and I was wondering in the same for this show. I was wondering if they're going to, because okay, I'm going to reveal who is Rubberman. I'm going to reveal the identity, so just leave now. Because I can't be bothered to say Rubberman all the time. So, okay, leave the video if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so we found out that Rubberman is actually Tatum. And I was kind of wondering if they're going to reveal his motives or not. And it's just an unanswered question, which the writer forgot about. Because when he kills the gay guys, I was just left wondering what the hell's going on. Why is he killing them? Because even when I found out that Tatum was Rubberman, when I went on bloodydisgusting.com, and I had just watched episode 4, so I was wondering, okay, so if Tatum's Rubberman, why would he kill the 2 gay guys? Why is he so aggressive? I mean, yeah, sure, he killed all those kids in school for no apparent reason, and he's just a psychopath. Well, I guess that could have explained it, but they did give him a motive. Because in this episode, even when you see the other half of the scene just ends there as well, again. And you're left wondering, why did he kill them anyway? And then of course you find, but then they do answer the question, so I was happy with that. At the very end of the episode, they show you yet the other half of the scene. And then the dialogue between Moya and Tatum explains everything. So I'm happy that they explained that, because I was really getting worried that they weren't going to explain it, and that would have pissed me off a lot. So that's good. Yeah, okay, just 2 more things to say now. 2 things which I thought were stupid on the characters' behalf. If you've seen the episode, you probably know what I'm talking about. When I had a look at other reviews, I know a lot of people bitched about this as well. Is that when Violet and... Okay, before we do that, one other point. Well, I like the fact that Violet it kind of reminded me of Insidious, how the characters reacted, because Moya was speaking to Vivian and saying stuff like, this house is haunted, this house is haunted, there's ghosts, you just need to get out. And Vivian just flat out, just wait a minute, okay, never mind, I thought the battery was low, I think it is. Anyway, I liked how Vivian So Moya is telling Vivian that the house is haunted, and trying to reassure her that the house is haunted and you need to get out. And then the next scene is literally Violet being woken up by Vivian, and she's like, "We're leaving now," and they actually go to leave. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying, don't worry about the jump cut there, just had to stop recording for a second. But I think I was talking, yeah, okay, so this leads me to my next point, that when Violet and Vivian go in the car, so they get in the car, they're going to drive off to Vivian's mother's place or something like that. But basically, right, so when they get in the car, behind them is the people that Tatum killed in episode 2, the murderers, house robbers, whatever you call them. You know, the people who did the home invasion in the second episode. But basically, so they're in the back seat of the car. So Vivian and Violet, you know, they both freak out and they run back, they go to run back into the house. Which, well, yeah, they do, they run back into the house. So they start freaking out, they scream, run back into the house, and that's it. Or, so it's just like, yeah, sure, you could run back into the house, or you could just run out the gate. So, I mean, I understand that they need to keep them in the house for the show to continue, but I thought that was kind of lame, a bit weak when they ran back into the house. Just, yeah, I didn't like that part. And I know I'm not alone in this, and this certainly isn't an original thing to say or think of, because I know like everybody complains about this, and I don't blame them, because that really kind of bugged me, I think. Anyway, anything else? Like, it didn't bother me. Like, I guess you could argue that, well, people, when they panic, people don't think straight, so they do stupid stuff. Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't care about him this little moment. I don't care about it much for me to be bothered to argue about it. So if somebody presents an excuse like that to me, I'll just be like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll accept it, because I just don't really care about it. So it's a pretty stupid decision, but you know, sure, I'll just submit and accept the fact that they were panicking. So whatever, I don't really care. And finally, this is the final point I have. What was it? Oh, right. Okay, so actually 2 more points, which is when Tatum, so Violet's gonna tell Mum, because so basically Ben, he thinks Violet is crazy because she's telling him that she saw the dead guys in the back of the car, and of course Ben doesn't believe her, and he thinks that she's going insane. So she asks Violet to come down to tell Ben what they saw, and Tate is just like, you can't say that, they'll think you're crazy and put you in the madhouse. And she just doesn't tell Ben what she saw, and she makes her mum out to be crazy. I just didn't buy that too much. Again, it just doesn't really bother me though either. Like, I'll accept it. The show's awesome enough for me not to really think that much into it, and I'll just go with the flow, you know. I'll just go with what's happening. I'm not gonna question it much. I thought it was a bit weak when she did that. I guess it's the setup for the next episode, because she's in the madhouse now. She's like she's getting checked out by the psychologists, I guess. So I guess it leads up to the next episode, so it's a setup for the next episode, I know. But I still thought it was a bit weak. But it doesn't really bother me. The show's awesome enough for me to look past it, you know. And 2 more things. So when I thought the episode portrayed Vivian's descent into madness very well. I mean, yeah, she's being tormented by the ghosts, but she does seem to be going a bit loopy anyway. And I think they showed that very well. It's written and edited very well. So you do feel that the character is actually feel. So basically, they wrote the character well. So you do actually feel as if she thinks she's going insane. So they wrote the character well, I think, in that in that angle. So, and one last thing. So Tatum says to Violet, they're just ghosts, they can't harm you. So I'm not sure if this is just like maybe it's just a throwaway line which doesn't have any significance and I'm looking too much into it. But I was just thinking, he said that and he snapped the guy's neck, half drowned him, and then slammed the other guy's head into the table and shot them both. So, well, that's what I'm saying. So he said they're ghosts, they can't harm you, when he just snapped the guy's neck in the bucket of water. So either this is just like a goof in the writing, a mistake, because the ghosts clearly can harm anyone they want. That's made clear. However, maybe he's just saying that to comfort Violet so she's not as scared, I guess. I'll accept that, because maybe that's why he said it. But yeah, so that's what I thought of the 2 episodes. I've liked every single episode of the series so far. 1 or 2 little moments which I was a bit off about. Well, not moments, but just things like them running back into the house. But I don't care. The show's awesome enough for me to ignore those moments. So I'm not bothered. So yeah, that's episode 7 and 8. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.